Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Mimbar, where we have imams, people of knowledge, and special guests on the show, and we discuss topics that is relevant or are relevant to the actual viewers. And today, alhamdulillah, we're going to be discussing a topic. I think it is quite relevant, and it is sports and religion, inshallah. I have today joining me Sheikh Mustafa Abu Rayyan. Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And I've got as well Sufyan from Sutton Coldfield FC, playing semi-professional football. Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
We're blessed to have you here, alhamdulillah.
I appreciate you having me here.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It was nice. We met for the first time. I spoke to you on the phone yesterday.
Yes.
And went through the masjid and seen like what kind of the masjid does, and alhamdulillah, it's been a good few hours.
Yes, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Now today, what I want to start off with is this Muslim charter. All right. If those who don't know, recently there was a piece of what would it be called? Not a legislation, but a document was produced by brothers or by an organization, saying to other football teams to sign, and it was basically giving the Muslim players not necessarily rights, but to kind of accommodate them, yeah. And on it was about 10 points, and just to mention a few of the points, that we've yet, me and Mustafa, Sheikh Mustafa, were trying to find the document. We didn't find it. And Sufyan mentioned a good point that perhaps it's not been publicized yet, but it's been sent to the teams, mashallah. And on it is like things like prayer facilities, and halal food, not being around alcohol, these kind of things.
Fasting, etc.
Indeed, fasting as well. So I want to ask you, Sufyan, about how do you see this actual charter in the sports world for a person who's actually involved in sports right now?
I think for Muslim players it can only be a positive for the athletes. I think obviously it may give them a sense of freedom, a sense of they can openly be practicing Muslims, whereas maybe at the moment obviously they have advertising deals and all sorts of agents and stuff where to us it may seem like they're not as practicing and they're not the role models that we want to be, but obviously it may be other things holding them back. But hopefully this charter documentation that's coming out, or hopefully we'll see it soon, I think it should give them freedom and allow them to be who they really are, and it'll be a good positive for the young Muslim Ummah especially. Yeah,
mashallah. It's an interesting point, because for example, like people that are practicing or maybe not practicing, it could be encouraging them to, to begin practicing, maybe because it's giving them that bit of, like you said, freedom.
Yeah, one of the reasons why someone might be put off, or I would say don't want to ask for that prayer room, or don't want to ask for a wudu facility, or whatever the case is sometimes they might feel, I don't know, too shy, or it's not appropriate, but this is a step in the right direction, definitely. You were mentioning earlier, actually, we spoke, off screen earlier, and you were mentioning that some clubs are already accommodating, and that's because a lot of Muslim players have been requesting it, which is good. But now that it's actually put in paper, it's going to encourage a lot of people to say, I want the prayer facility, I want halal food, I want, more accommodation with Jum'ah or Ramadan. So it's really a step forward, I believe, alhamdulillah.
Definitely. And I think just to mention, like when I was reading the actual BBC article, that Watford FC have already came forward and said, look, we will accommodate for them, because right now, in the sports world, there's a lot of diversity, and a lot of Muslim black people who are from the Islamic faith that are part of the sports world at this current time. And for them sometimes it may seem like we were talking about earlier about people being people being ambassadors for the Islamic faith, and for the Muslim charter, for it to be there, it makes it easy for people it will not people make it easy for the Muslims to who are playing and who may not be asking for these things, or may have like feel kind of I don't know, shyness towards that, towards asking for these things. So perhaps there's probably a football player going, I hope my team signs this charter. So it's interesting, with Muslims and sport. So I want to talk about that, like the athletes that are Muslims. A lot of the time, like they're in the limelight, regardless, right? You play sport or you're an athlete at a professional level. Everyone is watching you, and people look up to you, whether they're Muslim or whether they're non-Muslim. You are a role model for someone, But as a Muslim, you as a Muslim, your religion is more than just, we were saying, more than just within your home and within the masjid, going to the mosque and back. It's a way of life. Islam dictates everything that you do. So for those players, like, can we say we should hold them more accountable, for them being in the limelight? I think you mentioned something before we came on to the podcast. I
mean, look, it's interesting. Players are people. Sometimes they are, right? And what we expect from them is it's sometimes it's the nature of the. I mean, Sufyan can attest to this. I guess it's the nature of the position that you're in. Sometimes you are expected to act a certain way, do a certain thing. And the thing is, when you have a lot of non-Muslims looking at you, and a lot of Muslims looking at you, the whole world looking at you, I appreciate that sometimes it's a heavy task to live up to the expectations. But the thing is, we shouldn't be asking them to live up to an expectation that we want from them. But as a Muslim, you want to live up to the expectation that Allah wants from you, right? And to the best of your ability. And this is why when a lot of Muslim athletes, they are out early practicing their faith, the first thing they're doing, they're pleasing Allah, right? They're pleasing Allah. And sometimes we tend to kind of forget that and just say, like, how we see them. No, what's important is how Allah sees you. And sometimes you don't know the challenges they are going through. And you alluded that earlier, like, sometimes you have to make a tough decision. You have to say no to someone and you might struggle. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of those athletes and all of the Muslims the strength to sometimes do the right thing. But when people are watching you, you do have somewhat of responsibility to, especially as a believer, as a Muslim, to act the way that a Muslim should, so that people understand who Muslims are. Like all of these players from whether, I don't know, it's tennis or it's football or if it's in rugby. That when non-Muslims watch them, they one of the things that happens is they understand Muslims a bit more. Like, I know I support a Muslim athlete. So when he sees another Muslim, a neighbor or co-worker, it helps with those relationships because now they know a little bit more. And I think this Muslim charter, what's going to do is it's going to help people understand more about who Muslims are. And I'm sure, Sufyan, you've experienced that. Like, how would you say? I mean, if I don't asking,
because you know what, touching upon that, I did want you to mention that, and I actually forgot. Because obviously me and Sheikh Mustafa here, we've not played professional. I don't know. Should he play professional? Anything? No. Okay. Any professional sport? So you're in this environment. So, and before we were talking, and we were saying kind of like, some players feel like when they're in this environment, especially maybe if it's not even perhaps a professional level, just like semi-professional, or even just being in that culture, are you feeling like you're the odd one out? We had brother Amr who shared a story with us, because he used to play professional hockey, field hockey. What about yourself then? Like, this before the Muslim charter, or before, like, when you were trying even to get on a team, what were kind of these obstacles that you were faced with, and when you're trying to play or you're trying to be an athlete?
To be honest, you could sit here and talk about it all day, really. The thing is, for people like us young Muslims, we come from communities where we're surrounded by Muslims, Asians, we come across non-Muslims and stuff, but we don't really hang around with them as much.
Yeah.
So growing up, playing football, we were always playing with Muslim players,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes against non-Muslims, in school and stuff, other schools. But the lack of opportunity when you were younger for our communities, it was definitely one of the reasons why it's difficult.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stereotypes that are associated with Muslims or Asian players, and that's why we see such a lack of them in the professional game. But when I eventually, got my foot in the door at a semi-professional club, it wasn't easy, because the thing is, you can't keep everyone happy.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's one thing I think it links to professionals as well. Like these athletes, as Sheikh Mustafa mentioned, they're still human beings. They're still normal people. They're gonna do 10 good things, and the one bad thing that they'll do is it will overshadow all the good thing that they do. That's just the life that we live now. But myself, I didn't struggle because I feel like if you can learn to adapt in different situations, different environments, it makes it easier for you. It wasn't easy, but I listened. I made sure, obviously, people knew I've got a beard. People knew I was Muslim.
That's the iconic sign, universal sign.
It is, to be honest. Not people know this, but I used to play for a Sunday league team, and in that team were all semi-professional footballers. There was a couple of us Muslim players, but a lot of them were non-Muslim, playing at a good level. And one brother, he used to play next to me, and after the game, he had played at like professional level and stuff, and he said to me, you're a really good player. I think I was about 18, 19 then, and he said to me, if I'm going to be honest with you, he said, for you to be able to get higher and higher, you need to cut that a little bit.
Wow.
And that's coming from someone, he was an African footballer. He wasn't white or anything, but he just, from what he's experienced and what he knows, that's the type of advice that he was giving to me. And it's not something that I would ever do or ever come across just to impress others, but it just shows the type of where it comes from, and
the pressure to kind of conform. And it's. Do you think that? You play semi-pro. Do you think that it gets a bit more difficult at the higher you get? Do you think that might be more sometimes pressure?
Pressure, maybe. I think it just depends as a person, really. Because like I was mentioning off camera, when I went to Sutton, before I even mentioned anything, obviously the manager knew I was a Muslim, and he gave me that comfort of saying, you don't, like, I don't expect you to be involved in anything that you don't feel comfortable in, and it gives you that peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about having to settle in or slowly having to say things, or I can't do this and I can't do that. Like, it was already set out for me. And I think that's something that is new, but it's something that people don't realize as well. Like, we have to give credit to them where it's due as well. Like, there is a lot of changes that are being happened, and like the Charter Muslim documentation, clubs are trying to accommodate for people. I think the highest level, the Premier League, it already happens, as you were mentioned, and I think it's just slowly the lower down you go, things are changing. And it can only be a positive for us, and hopefully an influence for more young Muslims to get involved and try and achieve a good level of football or any other level of sport.
The thing is, when we talk about this, it feels it's more than just sport. It's about being a minority in a big a big environment that's surrounded by culture and things that may not be Islamic. Whether you're going for a job, because as soon as you said the thing about the beard, automatically I thought about a job interview. I didn't think about football. I didn't think about someone playing the sport. I didn't think about an athlete. I thought about someone who's actually going for a job. and then they're working as anything, an accountant or whatever it may be, or a shop or whatever, and the manager goes, look, we have a certain kind of image that we like to uphold at this organization, and that would require for you to get those razor blades out. You know what I mean? So with having said that, so again we go back to how as a Muslim, it's a way of life, and you're an ambassador to the religion, and you need to pick, make it easy for yourself. Make it easy for yourself. Don't, you wouldn't try into. I don't know if that's something that would be discouraging for someone. Maybe someone wants to achieve and break all boundaries, whatever, whether it be we know so many athletes that had stood up against racism, stood up against Islamophobia, stood up against, because they were the first person to do it. They were the first person to do it, because I don't know if I'm contradicting myself, because I'm saying that make it easy for yourself, but then there's people who've actually chose a hard path, and then they've paved the way for other people.
Depends on the person, doesn't it? It depends on the person as well. Look, if you're the kind of person that cracks on the pressure, that doesn't like to request, some people are very, very
fragile,
or not maybe fragile is a bit of a, but you know exactly what I mean. It's some people, they're not the first person to say, I need a prayer room, or I'm a Muslim, I don't shake hands. They're not outwardly, they might want to, but then they're like, wait, I might lose my job, people might find me weird, whatever. So people tend to, some people are different. So if you're that kind of person, then it would be smart for you to try and find a field where you don't have to compromise. If you might crack under pressure and you might compromise, and that might result in you doing something that you wouldn't want to do as a Muslim, then don't put yourself in those type of situations. If you do end up in those kind of situations where you are in an environment, in a work area, in the sports industry, where imagine you're in a team that, or you're signing for a club that isn't as accommodating, then that's the challenge, right? And that is your trial then, and Allah's putting you through that test to see what you will do. And first, it's Allah that gives us the courage to speak out and say, listen, we don't do this, or I'm not going to join this. And you have to have that courage wherever you are. I've worked at places where there were brothers that were working there, but no one has requested for a prayer room, and then you look like, wait, these are Muslims as well, and right. So it's important that we understand our priorities, and look, people are at different levels of.
I think Sheikh is also it's we were mentioning as well when we were talking prior to the podcast, that it's knowing yourself, knowing what you can put yourself through and what you can't. Everyone, you've got to be real with yourself. You know what I mean? And say to yourself, if I put myself in this situation, right, and are you a person, are you that naive to think that, I will ask for the prayer room, or I will do that, and then obviously Shaitan will come and he whisper in your ear, or you were going to look like this, and you go like that. But you need to know yourself, what kind of level you're at, I guess, prior to that. If you're someone who knows that you're strict upon your prayer, and you strict upon this, and that you're not willing to compromise regardless, then perhaps for you it would be easier than a person, for example, who may be a Muslim, but he's struggling with his prayers, and by struggling, I don't mean that he doesn't pray. I mean, perhaps maybe he's he doesn't pray in the Masjid all the time, or maybe he's late. Does that make sense?
No, I know what you mean. And you know what is, we have to encourage each other as well. Whatever level you're at in your faith, or you're practicing whatever, we have to encourage each other. And it's just that people need to. I think one of the good things that's been happening is people are starting to understand what Islam is, because sometimes they don't. So if they don't know what to expect from you, okay, are you going to join us in our festivities, or are you not? Are you going to come to the Christmas dinner or not? Maybe some of it is educating the people about what we are, who we are, and what we do and what we don't. And like you mentioned, it's getting easier now, because people are starting to understand more what it means to be a Muslim. Now they'll tell you, don't worry, we also provide halal food. So that's really good, that now that people know, and every single step in the right direction has been made because of brothers and sisters in these industries that have asked for it, and we have to applaud them. Everyone that is in these types of industry, whether it's the corporate world, the football world, whatever it is, and they have said, listen, we are Muslims, we need this, and this, and they have made it easier for any other Muslim afterwards, right? So we should definitely appreciate and applaud what they've done. But at the same time, don't put yourself in situations, if you can avoid them, that is going to make it difficult for you to practice your religion. I mean, that's just also a good point.
Did you find that with yourself? I mean, if when you were playing football, like in situations where you felt like, this is going to be a bit difficult for me, and then you had to decide whether I'm going to like stay strong and move forward, inshallah, or maybe perhaps this is not the best team for me, or maybe this is not the best. Has this ever happened?
Not necessarily as of yet for me. Alhamdulillah, every club I've played for, alhamdulillah, they've been very, understanding.
Yeah.
I think, as Sheikh was mentioning, I think as we mentioned before as well, we as Muslims have to learn to adapt, because their knowledge of Islam isn't as great, and they don't know much. So but if you say something like, I need 10 minutes to go pray, and they're like, why do you need to go pray? And then you explain to them, then it's more of understanding, rather than say, I'm going to go pray and come back. And then, sometimes it's good to engage because like for myself, these people are my teammates and stuff, and people are very understanding, to be honest. I've not really come across any situations where I've felt completely, on my own or isolated, or like, why am I here, or I don't want to be here, or
does it get difficult for let's say Ramadan, for example, just as a professional level, as a personal level, fasting and playing, or is that, or
it is difficult? It's not easy, to be honest. Obviously, no food or drink or anything all day. Physically it's very challenging, but mentally it's very, very challenging. When you're playing football, when you mentally get tired, you start making mistakes. But I think more now in from next year onwards, and in the following year, more of the season will be the back end of the season will be in Ramadan. So it'll be more of a test, because as of yet I haven't really played any Saturday semi-professional league games in Ramadan. Well, one or two maybe a few years ago, because Ramadan's been landing in the off season in
summertime.
But next year and the following years it'll be a test, but
getting closer.
I think some of the professional footballers have led by example. People like Paul Pogba, Said Ben Rahma, a lot of Premier League footballers breaking their fast on the pitch, and getting that respect and comfort from the league officials and stuff to stop the game and allow them to break their fast is really encouraging for Muslims and for the community in general.
I saw a video that went, I think, viral. It was Leicester. I think it was 2 Leicester players that were breaking their fast, and was it? I think it was Hamza
Chowdhury maybe, and
but it's so, and people are sharing that, and it's like you said, that is almost like a form of that.
100%.
People see that how serious we are about our faith.
I think the thing is, there's a lot of positives to those, but we shouldn't highlight the fact that so many people on social media that don't understand our religion put out negative comments saying, why are they stopping the game and stuff, and that's for me, that's our place to share some knowledge to these people, because people don't know why we fast, and they don't know the sacrifice that we're trying to make. It's not as if we're starving ourselves for 30 days straight and we're not eating at all in those 30 days. People,
for no particular reason,
we need to share knowledge, and I think that's our duty as Muslims. And
I think when you say adapt, that's what you mean, like our mindset towards people who may not understand the religion, and people they because it's new. Number one, they don't know perhaps a lot about it, or only perhaps what they've seen on the media, and perhaps sometimes what the media show is not necessarily the best thing that you can know about the religion of Islam. So it is upon those people, especially those people like who are up there, and then they get recognized for these little acts that they do, and causes people to actually maybe maybe want to research, but perhaps maybe before they research, we should that is an opportunity for people who are in these actual, this field, whether it be in corporate or athletic field, to educate. And that again goes back to you being, true to yourself, and then also that Islam is your way of life, and then you'll be surprised because like talking about Sonny B. Williams, the rugby player from New Zealand, he became a Muslim, and then he because of him becoming a Muslim, it became almost like a form of da'wah for his team, because another person on that team became Muslim through him, and because of him, and that, just because of the way he perhaps, obviously Allah guides who He wills, but as you as a person, you have that level of responsibility of conveying the message, and it's through your actions and through your speech.
What I like about all of this is, when you see a professional athlete that has so much responsibility and they've been paid so much to deliver on the pitch or whatever, and they know that if you want to perform better, you should eat. So, but they don't, because they're fasting. It's almost like, okay, yes, this is my career, it's important to me, but my religion is more important.
It shows the priority, because end of the day, for all of us, religion is first, Islam is first.
Yeah.
And that it's like I said, it's a great example for us all.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of Muslim players that don't fast and stuff, but at the highest level, we've got on live TV on Sky Sports, where there's Muslims and a lot of non-Muslims watching. It couldn't be a better example.
Yeah.
It should also be a reminder to those that perhaps are struggling to practice. Like, look, again, these athletes, they're people. They have good and bad. And to be honest, one of the things that people say, they are our role models. They are, in a way, and they are setting a good example. But ultimately, who's our role model? It's the Prophet ﷺ. And it's important to remember that, because when you prop someone up as the role model, well, there are going to be some aspects that they're not so good at, and we applaud everyone that is standing up for their religion and practicing and showing a good example, and in that we say you're great role models. But at the same time, we don't paint anyone as the ultimate role model to follow except for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's where we find our religious guidance and who we follow. I think that's very important. But at the same time, removing alcohol, not wanting to sponsor some players, saying we're not going to accept champagne as a gift because we're Muslim. I think it was Yahya Toure that said that. He said I don't want this because I'm a Muslim. This is all good message, because it shows that our priority is Islam. No matter where you find us, the doctor, the professional football player, anyone, the imam, all of us, the accountant, whoever you are, at the end of the day, we're here to please Allah. And if that's evident in every single field we're in, this is a very good way to call to Islam, because we're actually serious about our faith. I think there's this viral clip of some guy that's talking about that.
I was thinking about this. Is it the brother who talks about if you don't stand for for something, you stand for nothing? What did he say? I'm not too sure. I don't remember.
There's a clip that's being shared around, and it's a guy. He's basically saying that he's impressed with Muslims, and he says he finds them impressive because they're actually true to their faith, and they stand up for it. And he says that it's extremely evident from Muslims how serious they take their faith. That was just of it. He said a lot, but that was just of it. And this is what you see, and this is something we should appreciate. And if this Muslim charter is going to help facilitate that, if more people in the country that we live here are going to then learn more about who we are and how serious we take our faith and that it is our priority, then that's khair. And it's gonna be, like I said, it's a good example for the young ummah as well. Like, you don't have to compromise, and sisters don't have to take the hijab off to get a good job. Brothers don't have to not pray or shave their beards, or they don't need to be forced to shake hands with people. If like, be proud of your religion. But I also want to add one more point in before I let you guys chip in. Is it's not always going to be easy, and there's a hadith I want to share. The Prophet ﷺ said in hadith that there's going to be a time where holding on to your faith is going to be like holding on to a burning coal, and it's difficult. And you have to appreciate that sometimes you're going to be put in that situation and make the right decision. The right decision is always that you choose your faith over anything else. You know, I think that's something we all can appreciate.
You know, no doubt, because look, again, coming back to, you know, we are talking about people who are in like a professional level or in sport or whatever the case may be, but I think it's a reality for like Muslims living as a minority. And I know everyone, the viewers, probably have a story where like perhaps their faith was tested. You know, I'll share with you, one time I remember, I started a new job at a place. I'm not going to mention it, but I was required to be there for a certain time. And it was a customer kind of service. It was a kind of like a delivery kind of job. And I remember it was Asr time. And if I went to work, I would have found it difficult to pray at that time. And I said to myself, what am I going to do here? So I said, you know what, I'm going to pray. If I'm late, I'm late. You know, literally, like it is what it is. I'm gonna be late, but I'm gonna pray. So I prayed, and I remember when I got to work, there was like a big, massive IT fault, malfunction, and the whole company was like at standstill. And it was only when I arrived that everything just started working. You know, and I was like, wow. You know, and obviously you don't go with this as a principle. Yeah, expecting stuff like that to happen, you know, but like it's always important to you know, to put like the faith first, you know, regardless of where you are, you know, in whatever circumstances. I mean, we know from the Quran that the messengers and the prophets, they were sent to people like they were the minority, you know, they weren't like the majority, you know, and I think it's a common.
It's بدأ الدين غريب بس يعود غريب فطوبى للغرباء, right? The religion, it started as something strange and it will end as something strange. Like, so glad tidings to the strangers. I mean, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be, even if for that you can only be content with that when you are 100% convinced and content of your faith. You don't care what they say. Like, come join us for this. No, I don't do this. Come, like, it's isn't it awkward when someone puts their hand in, and you're like, yeah, it's sometimes awkward, right? And some people say, you know what, I don't want to be awkward, so I'm going to do it. But then you're like, yeah, but I don't care how awkward it is. I'd rather do the right thing, right? And if more people started doing that, then a lot more people would be appreciative.
But just on that, you have Khabib in UFC, who's the ultimate fighter in that, and he refuses to shake females' hands and stuff. You know, what bigger role model could you ask for in that sense?
Yes,
not in terms of seeking knowledge, but in that sense to, you know, if they can do it and they're earning millions of, why would we struggle? But obviously that's a battle that we've got to fight within ourselves.
And that's an example of a positive example. So like you mentioned, it's one of the things that I've noticed is, even with Khabib, is that a lot of young folks are now appreciative of the deen more, because of when they see how, you know, he starts with Alhamdulillah, you know, and Bismillah, and, you know, he's outwardly practicing. Again, when we say that, it's very important to understand that when you praise someone, or when you, it's you have to take it with the context, of course, but Khabib is a very good example of someone that is very proud and very vocal about his faith. And this is something that should encourage young people to also be proud and vocal about their faith. And don't be shy about it. Don't be shy about it. You are a Muslim. It's who you are. And it is the greatest thing about you, right? It's the greatest thing about Khabib isn't how good of a fighter he is how Muslim he is. Does that make sense? And that is the common denominator. And that is, whether you are in the mosque or you're at school or at work, that should be your one defining factor. I am a Muslim first. And anyone that's doing that and that's outwardly doing that to the best of their ability, may Allah forgive all of our shortcomings, this is something that we appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. He mashallah, he is a good example, you know. And there's you can name so many, you know. And the thing is about those kind of athletes and the people in those kind of fields, is that they kind of like they were at the forefront. Everyone else is kind of perhaps following what they did, and they're probably reaping like the benefits from kind of the things that what they stood for, when they stood for the religion. Because you probably hear so many stories about people who are in different sort of environments, whether it being the athlete or being whoever they may be, but they were the first to say, look,
we're not going to do this, we're going to do
that. I'm Muslim, and you know what, it makes you think that those were they better, better Muslim to do that, or
look, it's subhanAllah, it's fadl from Allah. Like the first person to open a mosque in Britain, that's a step, right? And then so many mosques were opened after. The first person to ask for that prayer room, the first person to mention that they want halal food, not right. There's going to be that first person, and that person, may Allah give him the reward of anyone after that benefits from that, right? But you should have the courage to try and be that person as well. And look, if alhamdulillah now, because of so many Muslim athletes and professionals and people in these different industries being proud and clear about their faith, if they made life easier for the next generations to come, then may Allah reward them for that. May Allah forgive any of their shortcomings. And I ask Allah to make all of us people that, look, we are here, we are in a society where we are not the majority, but we need to keep educating people about who we are, and we need to keep mentioning and standing up for our faith. And I think the more that is done, and it's very evident, you said that you saw coaches, the moment they see a Muslim, they now know, okay, don't worry, you'll get this, you'll get this, you'll get this. This is what we want. This is exactly what we want.
Yeah, and even if you probably look before that, there was probably no idea, like what you need to pray, you need to, I remember like even people would say like, someone who's been asked, I need to pray, they just say, okay, pray. Like pray right here. And then you talk about taking wudu, and then there's this, and then I need to face this direction and everything, and then they go, huh? It's really, really interesting, subhanallah. And
I've seen that joke. They say that getting caught with your foot in the sink.
Yeah.
Some people they won't get it. Like, why are you washing your feet, right? So it's about education, isn't it? It's about teaching them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's you know what, when I think about it, like Muslims living in a place where they are the minority, like it's really important for them to do that. It's really like it's a bigger responsibility, for them to do that. Because you can live in a society where like it's predominantly quote unquote Islamic, where all these things are known. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, that's a like perhaps there's different kind of vices over there and things that Muslim, anywhere you go as a Muslim, you're gonna face some sort of adversity or some sort of challenges, because this is what life is about, isn't it? To be tested. But perhaps over here it's like a bigger responsibility for you to know your religion, for you to be able to convey that message to people who may not understand, and know how to convey it to them in the best kind of way. Because like I said, adapting not per se adapting your religion to fit society, but adapting your kind of delivery perhaps, and seeing how you would speak to people, and in order to I don't want to say to make it like not to sugarcoat it, but to help them understand. You know what I mean? And then after that, what you've done your part, isn't it? You've done your part to say that, look, this is the religious Islam, I do this and that, and then you explain it, and then whether they agree or they don't agree, or they're against it, it's not really on you, because
you do what you can and you leave the rest to Allah, right? You do what you can and you leave the rest to Allah. But things have been getting better, right? I mean, you mentioned that things have been getting better. People are more aware, more accommodating. This charter is example of that. And so 20 years ago and now, we're in a better place. And I would hope that in 20 years from now, we're going to be in an even better place, right? So
I think the thing is, people are more understanding and more aware. We don't have many British-born Muslim or Asian footballers at the elite level, but we do have Muslim footballers more than before. And hopefully, like you said, maybe in a few years' time, inshallah, there'll be a little bit of a breakthrough. And I think a lot of things will change then even further. But already there's definitely, there's definitely steps in the right direction. And as I mentioned before, we should praise those who make those changes for us, and try and make it easy for us.
Yeah.
Because it isn't easy to be the only one there and be like separate to the group and do things differently. You know what I mean? So
No.
alhamdulillah, we shouldn't complain, and we should just like we said, adapt is the big thing in this topic.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. I think that it is the kind of like with everything that's happening in the sports world, for at least for Muslims, it's about, like, we can agree that it's remaining true to who you are and knowing that you're Muslim first. And inshallah, yani, you whatever happens, you'll face certain things, but to remain true to yourself and always seek Allah's help.
Yeah, and even the times where you have to maybe leave that job or that club, or because of your faith, if you are in that position or in that situation, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man taraka shay'an lillah, awadahu Allahu khayran min." Whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace that with something better. And I think that's the mindset we should have always. Like, I want to please Allah first and foremost.
No. I think alhamdulillah, and with that, we'll leave it there. It's a good place to leave it, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. It's been what, fruitful. Yeah, inshallah, we ask Allah to make it easy for the Muslim ummah, wherever they may be, wherever they may be going through, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Appreciate you guys being here. With that, we'll end the podcast, inshallah ta'ala. Remember, if you enjoy and found this beneficial and videos like this beneficial, to subscribe to the channel, inshallah, and also to like, share, and also the little bell that's on YouTube. Click on it, inshallah. You'll be notified when there's more things like this coming out. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.